Hello everyone. So I thought to piece together today what was going on in the heads of Amber Heard and her lawyers, her appeals lawyer, when they went ahead with the appeal and put in place the 16 items of error, I think is the term, and why they were the 16 that they chose and why they phrased it in the way that they did. So the reason I'm looking at this is because, well, first of all, I'd already looked at it and the 16 didn't look very good. And not only did the 16 not look very good, but 13 of them look so remote that I can't imagine any appeals court even looking at it. There were 3 that they might look at, and I've gone over that previously, but why would you have 13 hopeless ones and only 3 that have any chance at all? Why not just have the 3 that have a chance? Why not just stick with those 3? So that seems weird. But then now I've found out from somebody else's YouTube channel, so this was from Law and Crime, who were the official covering people of the trial. So one of their people, Lizardo something or other, she's now released a video that says, well, actually, they didn't even follow the proper rules. And when you look at it, if you look at Johnny Depp's one for his 3, and now he's got 3 more, so there's 6 now, he's got case number, page number, preserved, all this sort of technicalities, which mean nothing for me and you and most people looking at it, but for the appeals judges it means, oh, they can turn to a particular page, it's nice and easy to follow. Whereas Amber Heard's side's just going, oh, this happened. We're not proving it, we're just saying it happened. And you know, when you get into law, you have to be a bit more precise than that. Arguably, if you're a historian, you have to be a bit more precise than that. If you're a journalist, you're supposed to be a bit more precise than that. So why were they doing this? Well, first of all, these guys are not amateurs. She's not self-representing. She doesn't have a cheap lawyer. Elaine Bredehoft cost $8 million for the trial. She's now dumped Elaine Bredehoft and got more expensive ones. Now, whether or not she's paying for it or an insurance company doesn't really matter. The point is that she has expensive specialist appeals lawyers who are more expensive than Johnny Depp's lawyers, I would imagine. We don't know how much Johnny Depp spent, but it seems as if most likely Amber Heard's spending more, and was spending more in the trial too, it seems. But if she's got specialist appeals lawyers, and these guys have great credits, they know what they're doing. Why do they not understand the laws about having to quote particular numbers? It's a rule, I suppose, not a law, but you know, what do they not know? There's appeals court specialists. Why do they not know? And I mean, do they think it's because they're out of town? They don't know that, but surely every jurisdiction has something similar. I don't know. I'm not an appeals lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. But why don't they know? And the thing is, according to this Law and Crime person, is that what's going to happen now is either the appeals court will dismiss it based on following the wrong form, or they'll do a show cause. She can't guarantee it, of course, but it seems likely that it's one of those two. And erring on the side of dismissing the whole thing on the basis of you've used the wrong format. And so if they do a show cause, they'll have a special hearing, it'll be, you know, an hour or 2, and they might be given 2 weeks to fix it up or something like that. And in that hearing, these lawyers, these high-powered appeal specialists, will have to explain why they didn't know that they're supposed to put the numbers in and citations and all that sort of stuff. Which is that's the hard part of it. You know, if you're doing something like that, and I've had to do some of this work myself, is, you know, the lawyer that I would be helping out, because I've never been a lawyer, but I've been an assistant, they would tell me, oh yeah, we've got all this information, can you find the references? And I'd have to go through and find the references. And that can take hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And, you know, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time-consuming parts. So it's almost like, oh, do these appeals lawyers not have secretaries to help them to do that? Do they not have, you know, paralegals or someone, or do they not know how to do it themselves? I wouldn't expect them to do that sort of thing themselves. That sort of thing is time-consuming, it's annoying, and it's not really very difficult work. It's not something you need a law degree to do, but you'd sort of say, all right, I'm pretty sure we have this point, can we get someone to find it? And yet Amber Heard's team didn't go to the effort of getting someone to find it. So do they not have secretaries, do they not have assistants, or do they not understand the rules? Or do they not have enough time? They only had 15 days, so maybe they're working on other cases, couldn't be bothered. But so if she really does have these appeal specialists and she really paid for them, then what the heck? So of course we can then say, oh well, she's in Spain, she wasn't there to instruct them, but none of that's really a proper excuse. So I believe she did hire them. But why? And what's going on here? What's really going on? It seems as if the major benefit of Amber Heard having these 16 items when she should have really only had 3, the major benefit is that newspapers like Vanity Fair run the story and say, oh look, 16 cases, look how great a case she has. They're not even bothering with running Johnny Depp's 3. There's a few newspapers running Johnny Depp's 3, and it seems as if it's the same group that were running other things in support of him. So it's about 50-50. It's not true to say that the media are not supporting him. Half the media are, and half the media are supporting her. Of course, that is not reflected by the opinion of the majority. So 95% of people actually are supporting Johnny Depp at this stage. 5% are supporting Amber Heard. And yet the media are 50-50. So if the media were reflecting the views of the majority of people who follow the trial, it'd be 95% of the media would be supporting Johnny Depp and only 5% supporting Amber Heard. So the media are not reflecting this accurately in proportions. That's not necessarily an issue because before the trial began it was probably 50-50, and I know media tend to ignore what's actually happening in the trial, and they just decided who they're supporting before the trial begins. That's the case for every trial. So fair enough. But getting back to the point there, is that why she filled in what they called an appellate brief? It was actually articles or arguments of error. Did they do that just to get an article in Vanity Fair? Was that their purpose? Was that their goal? Was it so then she can say, oh look, I would have won but I don't have enough money. Look, 16 cases, 16 points, but I didn't have enough money. I mean, why would you risk getting that thrown out of court? Why would you risk, if these 16 points were good points, why would you risk getting it thrown out of court by not being filed correctly? That seems like such a stupid thing. Now, I've gone over why I don't think that they're very strong points, or at least 13 of them are not. But the other 3 I think are pretty weak too. But why are you just not making any effort? You're just phoning it in. This is not a professional effort. Yeah. So the aim, it seems, from that, in my view, was not aiming to win the appeal. She has no interest in winning the appeal. She knows that most likely that's going to be dismissed. And in fact, if you were the appeals judges, you're going to look at that and you're going to go, okay, on one hand they haven't filled it in properly. On the second hand, they've got too many counts. And on the third point, even the strongest of these counts is still very weak. I wouldn't do a show cause. If you were the appeals judges, you wouldn't do a show cause. I don't think you would realistically. Now, they might, but I think that you would just say, look, realistically, we think that you're trying to pull the wool over our eyes, you're wasting the court's time, we're dismissing it. And I think that's what the appeals court will do. I mean, the appeals court in the UK wouldn't hear Johnny Depp's case for that, and yet he won in the US. So it wouldn't really be very fair if she won and got to do an appeal. But I mean, it's different things. But that's how hard it is to win an appeal. Now, will his appeal be heard? I think it will. I haven't really analysed the 3 new ones, but they seem to be. There was some doctor I've never heard of before. I'm not sure if it's an actual medical doctor or just someone with a PhD, but this one, who knows what they were going to say, but they were apparently excluded as a witness, as an expert witness. I don't know how that relates to what Amber Heard was saying, but apparently these are extra ones based on her 16 points, which apparently you're allowed to do. So, I mean, the other thing is the money side of things. I mean, can she afford to run an appeal? Will this I mean, perhaps these appeals people will do it pro bono and just say, oh look, we'll only charge you if you win. Some people do that. But given that Elaine Brederhoff charged $8 million, I mean, that's so much money. But, you know, maybe they wouldn't. I mean, I don't know what the insurance companies are doing, whether they're going to actually foot the bills. You know, they're still having an argument over that. And I mean, there's also the question that, does Amber Heard have money? And I saw this view that Johnny Depp lost about $520 million between the start of their marriage and the end. And it just disappeared. Now we know that he was most definitely giving her money. It wasn't that much though. He was basically paying for a lavish lifestyle for her, for a sister, and for various hangers-on that were hangers-on of her, who then betrayed Johnny Depp in spite of Johnny Depp giving them money, because they weren't his hangers-on, they were hers. And Johnny Depp was paying for all that. I mean, I would have thought if you've got hangers-on, they should be loyal to you. And they should have been his hangers-on, not hers. But nonetheless, they were her hangers-on. And he was funding all of that. And, you know, how much was he giving them? You know, it was only, 2 years or a year and a half or so. How much could you spend? Well, probably a few million. But not 520 million. So what happened to the rest of the money? Now, of course, Johnny Depp sued his accountant or someone like that. But there's a chance that Amber simply pocketed it. Now, if she simply pocketed it, the law becomes a little bit fuzzy because they were married. And yeah, maybe she's stealing off him, maybe she's not. It could be a bit difficult to trace. But if she has pocketed it, and not necessarily the full 520 million, maybe she's pocketed 100 million. She could be using that $100 million now to fight all this. But then why fight it? $100 million you can live off the rest of your life. And if she's hidden it well enough, and Johnny Depp's probably not going to care too much about that 100 million. I mean, he might, but just seems to me a bit strange. And I worked out previously, she should have, even without that, she should have around $20 million. So what's she done with it? So maybe she does have money. But yeah, there's a lot of strange things going on there. So yeah, look, I'm not sure what's going on, why she is even getting Chris Boozy to target people. Why does it matter? Why does she care about that? It just seems a bit strange, but I don't think she's aiming to win an appeal. I don't think that's the aim. I think there's some revenge, something else going on. She's playing games. What those games are, that's for another day. Anyway, that's it from me. Bye-bye.